Welcome, deep divers. Sometimes the most profound journeys, well, they're the ones you didn't exactly leap for. We embarked on this deep dive with a specific map in mind, a particular destination.
Mm-hmm.
But as we really got into the source material, the path itself it shifted right under our feet. What started as an exploration into maybe one focused theme just sort of unfolded into something far more expansive, a true odyssey, really.
Exactly. Yeah, it became clear pretty quickly that the threads we were pulling, they weren't leading to just one single tapestry. They were actually revealing this much broader, much richer landscape of human thought.
Right.
So this isn't just a detour. It's actually, I think, an opportunity for real discovery, a chance to see how these, fundamental questions about who we are, the nature of reality itself, and our deepest purpose, how they resonate across millennia and vastly different cultures. We'll be drawing insights from, everything from ancient spiritual texts to modern psychological frameworks and even like practical guides for living.
So our mission today really is to explore these incredibly diverse perspectives on inner life, the fabric of reality, and the myriad paths to understanding. We're going to try and draw out some surprising connections and, as always, some actionable insights for you, our listener. It's less about a specific destination, maybe, and more about the incredible uncharted journey itself, distilled from, a truly eclectic collection of sources. All right, let's unpack this then. So many of our sources, they just immediately dive into what lies beyond our physical form, prompting you to question the very nature of the self.
Yeah.
And this isn't just, philosophical musing. It feels like a really foundational inquiry into our identity.
It is. And it's striking how consistently these ancient texts, across different traditions, they confront this idea that our true essence is non-physical. It's eternal.
Right.
This isn't some modern concept. It's timeless.
Yeah.
And it immediately begs the question, doesn't it? How does truly internalizing this distinction between our body and our soul, how does that fundamentally alter our perception of life, our daily decisions, even something as profound as, death?
That's a really powerful way to put it. Let's start with the Bhagavad Gita. It's such a cornerstone of Hindu philosophy. This text introduces the concept of individual souls as eternal, completely distinct from the changing bodily dress we inhabit.
Yeah, the dress.
Exactly. And it's not just poetic, it's a precise teaching. It says you were an individual in the past, you are one now, and you'll continue to be an individual in the future, even after liberation, from the bondage of what it calls material dress.
Right. Individuality persists.
Right. Your unique identity, your consciousness, it transcends the temporary form. And the Gita offers this analytical study of the soul and body described as Sukhya, which in simple terms is like a dualistic philosophy separating matter, prakriti, from consciousness, purusha. It's a way of looking at the universe as made up of these two fundamental distinct principles and understanding our own experience through that lens. And importantly, the Bhagavad Gita distinguishes its Sahya from the more atheistic version that's sometimes attributed to Kapila. It emphasizes a divine origin for consciousness. It highlights that the Supreme Lord is active, impregnating nature with these atomic individual souls, all working in the material world for, sense gratification.
Right.
But the journey continues, even to the point of liberation, where the living entity might want to become one with the Lord, which the text actually describes as a kind of last snare of Maya, or sense gratificatory illusion.
Oh, interesting. So merging isn't the ultimate goal here.
Not in this view, no. Because true liberation for the individual soul isn't about dissolving your identity. It's about reconnecting in a conscious, loving relationship. Only after many, many births of such activities, the Gita suggests, does a great soul truly surrender to Lord Keta, fulfilling that search for ultimate truth.
Wow. And if we really internalize that our essence is eternal and distinct from this changing body, it could profoundly shift our focus, couldn't it?
How so?
Well, instead of just chasing short-term gratification, which the Gita calls that snare of Maya, right? This powerful illusion making the material world seem totally real and all-consuming, we might actually start prioritizing long-term spiritual growth. It implies that our perceived losses or gains in this physical realm, they aren't truly losses or gains for our soul. They're just temporary experiences.
Right. It reframes everything.
Exactly. And this isn't about detachment in some cold, uncaring sense. It's about understanding a deeper, unchanging reality beneath the surface of all these fleeting events. It encourages you, the listener, to look at your suffering and your joys through a different, more expansive lens, recognizing their impermanence in the grand scheme of the eternal self. It really gives a sense of a larger unfolding narrative to our individual lives.
That's such a crucial point about the snare of Maya. And this idea, it isn't just isolated to the Gita. The Taittiriya Upanishad, for instance, it sort of builds on this by outlining 5 stages of Brahman realization. It gives this hierarchical, incredibly sophisticated understanding of consciousness.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Let's break these down because they offer such a rich framework for self-understanding. It starts with Annamaya, literally translates to food body.
Okay.
This is our most basic identification, right? The belief that we are simply our physical form, dependent on food for existence. Basically, a materialistic realization. It's like saying, I am what I eat, and that's the full extent of my being.
Got it. So the most basic level.
Exactly.
And then it moves up from there, showing this progression in awareness. Pramaya isn't just about food anymore. It's realizing the absolute truth within our very life force, our breath, our energy. Recognizing life symptoms as a deeper layer of self. It's a step beyond the purely physical, sensing that vitality that animates the body, the life current, the breath sustaining us.
Okay, so physical, then vital energy.
Then, Janamaya. This takes us to the realm of the mind, extending realization beyond just vital symptoms to our capacities for thinking, feeling, willing.
Ah, the mental layer.
Right. It's understanding that our mental processes are also part of this tapestry, that our consciousness involves these deeper cognitive and emotional aspects. But still, even this isn't the ultimate layer.
So we're moving from the purely physical to the vital life force to the intellect and emotions. What comes next in this progression? It feels like we're getting deeper.
We are. The next stage is Vijnanamaya. This signifies a more profound discernment. Here, the living entity's mind and life symptoms are distinguished from the living entity itself.
Whoa, okay, so that's a big step.
Huge. It's where you begin to realize, I have thoughts, I experience emotions, but I am not those thoughts or emotions. It's the awakening of what we might call transcendental knowledge, where one realizes the soul is distinct from the mind and the body.
Okay, and the final stage.
The supreme stage, Anandamaya, the realization of the all-blissful nature. The Supreme Lord is described as Anandamaya, meaning he is eternally full of bliss. And a living entity becomes perfect by dovetailing with this blissful nature.
Dovetailing, like aligning with it.
Exactly. Aligning with, participating in that inherent bliss. This sophisticated framework really pushes us beyond any simplistic view of the self as just a body, or even just a thinking mind. It offers this profound invitation to discover your inherent blissful nature by aligning with the ultimate source of bliss.
That profound understanding, this hierarchical unfolding, it really does push us beyond the simplistic view of self. But okay, if that's one layered perspective, Conversations with God takes the discussion to an even more radical, almost startling place regarding the soul's nature.
Oh, so.
It suggests the body isn't a container for the soul. Rather, the soul is a container for the body.
Wow, okay. Flip that around.
Completely. And it goes further, positing that there's no real dividing line between souls. It's really one soul holding all bodies, yet it feels like individual souls by design, for the purpose of experience.
One soul. That's mind-bending.
It is. And here's a beautiful, immediate takeaway from that book. It emphasizes that feeling good isn't just some fleeting emotion or a casual preference. It's the soul's way of shouting, this is who I am. It's like an internal compass guiding us back to our true essence.
That concept, that feeling good, is a profound internal affirmation. That's quite powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it suggests that our emotional compass is actually the direct line to our authentic self. A guiding principle for understanding our deepest truth. It turns the idea of happiness from some goal to achieve externally into an internal resonance with who you fundamentally are.
Right. Not something out there, but in here.
Exactly. And to your earlier point about our everyday experience of separation, the text addresses this through what it calls a divine dichotomy.
Okay, what's that?
It suggests that two seemingly contradictory truths can exist simultaneously. So, in the realm of the absolute, there's only one being, one soul.
Right, the one soul idea.
Yes. Yet in the realm of the relative, where we live our daily lives, we experience many individual souls. And this tension isn't a flaw. It's actually by design. It allows us to experience things like love, by creating its opposite, or to experience individuality while still being part of the one. It's a mechanism for profound learning and growth, really.
And if we consider how these ancient spiritual frameworks provide a map for our inner world, well, indigenous wisdom often reminds us that our inner world isn't separate from the outer world at all.
That interconnectedness.
Yeah, building on this idea of a non-physical essence and deep interconnectedness, Black Elk Speaks draws us into a completely different yet equally profound understanding of self and environment. It offers this powerful vision of the earth spirit, personified as an old man who reveals he is myself with all the years that would be mine at last, which implies this cyclical, interconnected existence that just transcends linear time, where your individual journey is intrinsically linked to the spirit of the land and all its history, past, present, future, all woven into one being.
That's beautiful.
And the dog vision in the same text, it also hints at a spherical power that could go into a pony's legs, connecting personal power to a broader, unseen force. Almost like an energy transfer or an extension of self, a flow of spirit between all living things.
This blurring of self in nature or self in time, it offers such a profound shift in perspective. Yeah. It really invites you, the listener, to consider, are we merely individuals, separate and distinct? Or are we deeply woven into a larger fabric of existence, as these indigenous perspectives so beautifully suggest?
Yeah.
It challenges the very notion of isolated individualism. And Braiding Sweetgrass, Robin Wall Kimmerer's work, it beautifully echoes this sentiment. It ties the history of plants directly to the history of people and portrays land not merely as a resource or capital, but as a living, breathing entity with its own spirit and story. The idea she presents of loosening the hold of the colonists for native plants to return. That could be a powerful metaphor, couldn't it?
Definitely. How so?
For restoring balance not just in ecosystems, but within oneself or within society. By shedding those colonizing, isolating thoughts and remembering our deep ecological connections, it's about remembering that we are literally made of the earth, and the earth is a part of us.
Moving from the expansive nature of the soul and its interconnectedness, let's now turn our lens inward to the mind itself, that constant chatterbox, right? The architect of our personal reality.
Ah, the mind, yes.
Our sources consistently highlight how our thoughts aren't just passive observations, they're active creators. Conversations with God directly declares that your perspective creates your thoughts, and your thoughts create everything.
Everything. That's a bold claim.
It is, and it's not just a casual observation. It's a profound statement about our agency. It suggests the ultimate form of prayer isn't asking for things, but actually changing our inner state, our perspective, to shift the very conditions we experience. It's about not condemning aspects of life you disagree with, but seeking to change them and the conditions that made them possible by changing your inner state.
That's a crucial point, that consistent message about the limits of the thinking mind. If our thoughts are indeed generative, as Conversations with God suggests, what does it mean if reality itself is unknowable by the thinking mind, as Anthony de Mello provocatively suggests in Awareness?
Right, the unknowable part.
He argues that truth, God, divinity, whatever you call ultimate reality, cannot be grasped through intellectual comprehension. He goes so far as to say that Scripture is merely a hint, a clue, like a finger pointing to the moon, not the moon itself. This immediately challenges our often intellectual-heavy approach to truth, doesn't it? It implies that endless contemplation or conceptual understanding might actually be a barrier to direct experience. You know, you can read a menu all day, but it won't feed you.
It's a complete paradigm shift, isn't it? We're so conditioned to think our way to solutions. And Eckhart Tolle, in A New Earth, he really unpacks this. He identifies the ego's profound fear of peace.
Fear of peace. That sounds counterintuitive.
It does. But he argues that the ego constantly seeks problems. It constantly needs reasons why it cannot be at peace now. It creates this incessant mental churn, convincing us that peace is always just around the corner, you know, after we've solved X, Y, or Z.
The when-then trap.
Exactly. But in reality, he says, being one with life is being one with now. Peace is actually the end of the ego's dominance because the ego thrives on conflict and future-oriented anxiety. Tolle states that we don't live our life, but life lives us. Life is the dancer and we are the dance. Peace is found when we stop resisting the dance and just allow life to unfold in the now.
This perspective calls for such a radical shift from our usual engagement with our thoughts, where we often identify with them, don't we?
Completely.
It invites us to recognize that much of our mental churn, described by Tolle as the ego's constant search for non-peace, is actually a barrier to genuine presence and understanding. If reality is indeed unknowable by thought, and peace is the end of ego, it encourages us to shift how we engage with our own mental processes, looking beyond what we think we know, and instead experiencing what is.
This becomes even more profound when we think about our interactions with others. A Course in Miracles emphasizes that your brother's errors are not of him any more than yours are of you.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
It suggests that if you accept his errors as real, you've actually attacked yourself, because ultimately, in the realm of spirit, there's no separation. Correction, it asserts, is of God, not possible by the arrogance of the ego. It highlights that atonement, this process of correction, is no more separate than love because it comes from love. It's really a call to universal forgiveness, seeing past the illusory flaws to the inherent divine nature in everyone, including yourself.
And this framework for understanding errors, it's beautifully complemented by the untethered soul, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
connects inner sensitivity, self-consciousness, jealousy, insecurity, anxiety, all to fear.
Right. Fear as the root.
Yes, seeing them as symptoms of non-well-being rather than intrinsic to who you are, the book encourages you to realize your psyche doesn't have to be not okay. Just as pain is the body's language, fear is the psyche's language, communicating when something is off, like a red light on a dashboard.
I like that analogy.
It's not who you are, it's a signal. It's a temporary state that needs attention.
This perspective profoundly challenges us, then, to view our own perceived flaws and those of others through this lens of universal forgiveness and understanding, rather than constant judgment. It suggests a path to liberation from that constant internal turmoil by recognizing that these negative states are not our true essence, but rather communications that our psyche, much like our body, is not well and needs attention and healing, not condemnation.
Okay, so with a deeper understanding of the self as beyond the tangible and the limitations of the egoic mind, how do these sources then guide us in the practical art of living? They seem to move beyond just abstract concepts to offer tangible wisdom for our daily lives.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting, I think. The idea that true greatness or, spiritual alignment comes not from self-assertion or egoic striving,
Right, the usual metrics.
but from profound humility and a desire to be of service. And it also suggests an acceptance of life's inherent difficulties, which is kind of a reversal of many societal values that often glorify individual achievement and comfort above all else, doesn't it?
That's a perfect way to put it. A return to love highlights humility and the desire to be of service as qualities that create a star-like quality, not arrogance.
Star-like quality, I like that. Yeah. It points to the Zen tradition, for example, of disciples dusting altars for years as part of their preparation. Not as some menial task, but emphasizing the process over the ego's constant goal orientation. The text suggests that in modesty, we allow things to blossom, and that the ego sabotages us by emphasizing the goal, creating false pride, and ultimately hindering our spiritual growth. It's about finding the sacred in the mundane act, performed with a truly humble heart.
And Theologia Germanica links true, pure humility and poverty of spirit directly to the life of Christ and his true followers. It states unequivocally that where there is pride, Christ is not.
Wow, that's stark.
It is. It's a stark challenge to any sense of spiritual superiority. And the text speaks of a heart laden with a secret sorrow and mourning as long as mortal life lasts, implying that accepting this inherent difficulty, this awareness of the world's brokenness, isn't a sign of spiritual failure. It's actually an integral part of the spiritual journey.
So, not trying to escape the sorrow, but accepting it.
Exactly. It's a profound challenge to the notion that spiritual life should always be easy or overtly joyful. Instead, it acknowledges a deep, compassionate suffering as part of the path.
So whether through radical humility or this kind of compassionate sorrow, there's a consistent message about our orientation to the world. And from this foundation, how do these sources guide us towards being more present and intentional in our daily lives?
Well, Eckhart Tolle provides 3 deceptively simple words for the secret of the art of living. One with life,
Okay.
which he elaborates means being one with. Now, making peace with the present moment is absolutely crucial, because the present moment is the only field where the game of life happens, right? And
Yeah.
it cannot happen anywhere else.
It's all there is.
And this isn't just passive acceptance. It's an active, non-resistant engagement with whatever life brings, releasing that mental struggle against what is. It's about dropping into the fullness of the moment.
And the 7 spiritual laws of success complements this beautifully. It emphasizes stillness as the first requirement for manifesting desires, connecting to the field of pure potentiality.
Stillness. How does that work?
It uses the analogy of throwing a stone into a still pond versus a turbulent ocean.
Oh, okay.
In stillness, even the faintest intention ripples across universal consciousness with clarity and power. It's in that silence that true creation can begin. And non-judgment is also key, reducing internal turbulence to access this gap between thought,
The gap?
which is our direct connection, according to the text, to pure potentiality and infinite creativity. It's in that space of non-doing, of pure presence, that inspiration and manifestation truly flourish.
And, connecting to that presence, wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
Talks about meditation practice requiring a daily renewed vision, an awareness of purpose and intention, not just some quixotic idea or a routine habit.
So it's not just going through the motions.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not enough to simply believe meditation is good. The intention has to be right out front, all the time. Because mindfulness itself requires this level of awareness and presence. It's about continually recommitting to the practice, understanding why you're doing it, rather than just mechanically checking a box.
This brings us to a fascinating tension, I think, in these sources. The role of rules, love, and social responsibility in a world where these internal states seem so paramount.
Right. How does the inner relate to the outer structure?
Exactly. Conversations with God provocatively states God's law is no law.
Whoa. Yeah.
But it immediately clarifies this is for advanced beings. For humanity, some level of governance is required because of what it calls separation consciousness, the fact that we perceive ourselves as distinct, separate individuals.
Ah, okay. So the rules are because of our current state of consciousness.
That's the idea. It posits that if we were not separate, if we were truly one, we would be profoundly responsible for each other automatically. The core problem, it argues, isn't a lack of government, it's a lack of growth in consciousness. If we truly understood our oneness, external laws would just become superfluous.
It really begs the question, though, how do we reconcile that idea of divine law as no law with the very real need for societal rules and the profound impact of collective choices on justice and equality? It points to a deep, almost agonizing tension in human experience, doesn't it?
It really does.
And James Baldwin's The Fire Next Time powerfully illustrates the consequences of this very separation consciousness, but through the searing lens of racial injustice. He describes the indescribable struggle of Negroes in America and questions the very idea of integration into what he calls a burning house.
A burning house, that's incredibly powerful imagery.
It is. He highlights how the truth about the black man has been hidden, distorted, and how any refusal to accept the white world's definitions is met with attempts to cut that black man down. It's a raw look at the violence of separation.
Baldwin's perspective offers such a stark, painful, real-world consequence to this separation consciousness. He describes how this leads to a state where it becomes almost impossible for him to distinguish a real from a fancied injury, where all doormen, all policemen, they become the same threat. Leading to a style, he says, designed to intimidate them before they can intimidate him. And his poignant question, do I really want to be integrated into a burning house? It fundamentally challenges the very notion of a unified society when such deep systemic divisions persist. It's a call to examine the foundations of that house, not just to move into a segregated room within it.
And C.S. Lewis, in Mere Christianity, well, coming from a different tradition entirely, offers another angle on social responsibility. He discusses the church, meaning all practicing Christians giving a lead, not through clergy writing political programs, he says, but through Christian economists, statesmen, trade unionists, schoolmasters, applying Christian principles in their respective fields.
Ah, so embodying principles in action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This isn't about imposing dogma, but about individuals embodying ethical action within their sphere of influence. And he always cautions against intemperance in all things, not just drink.
Intemperance in all things? Like what?
Well, he mentions making golf or his motor bicycle the center of his life, or a woman who devotes all her thoughts to clothes or bridge or her dog.
Huh. So even seemingly harmless things.
Right. This broad definition of intemperance reveals a focus on balance and moderation in all aspects of life, as opposed to fixation on any one thing, whether it's a vice or a seemingly harmless hobby that pulls us away from a more centered, purposeful existence. It's about finding equilibrium, which is crucial for ethical living.
That makes sense. So many of us, though, wrestle with internal struggles like guilt, shame, suffering. It's just a universal human experience, isn't it? Our sources offer some powerful insights into understanding and ultimately, hopefully, moving beyond them.
And it's quite remarkable how these different traditions and psychological perspectives, they seem to converge on this idea that suffering and inner turmoil, while undeniably painful, they can also be signals or even stages in a deeper process of transformation.
Hmm.
They invite you, the listener, to not just passively endure, but to actively understand and transcend these difficult feelings, seeing them as part of a larger journey of growth.
Brene Brown in Daring Greatly provides such a crucial distinction between guilt and shame. Guilt, she explains, is I did something bad,
Okay.
while shame is I am bad.
The core identity difference.
Yes. This might seem subtle, but the impact is profound. Shame, she notes, leads to these self-protective behaviors like blaming, rationalizing, or hiding, which prevents genuine apology and connection.
Right, it shuts things down.
Whereas guilt, though uncomfortable, can actually prompt genuine apology and behavioral change because it focuses on the behavior, not the inherent worth of the person. She gives the example of forgetting lunch with a friend. Calling yourself an idiot, a terrible friend, that's shame. Saying, I can't believe I did that, what a crappy thing to do, that's guilt. The former paralyzes, the latter empowers change.
That distinction is so crucial because shame, by its very nature, is isolating and paralyzing. It often drives us inward and away from others.
Yeah.
Guilt, while uncomfortable, can actually be a healthy catalyst for growth because it allows for accountability and repair.
Right.
It encourages self-compassion while still acknowledging responsibility for our actions.
Right.
It really is the difference between self-loathing and self-correction.
And The Untethered Soul offers a similar perspective on internal pain. It views physical pain as the body's language. A signal when something is wrong, a communication that needs attention. In the same way, it views fear encompassing self-consciousness, jealousy, insecurity, anxiety as the psyche's language. These psychological discomforts, it argues, are symptoms of non-well-being, not intrinsic flaws or permanent characteristics of who you are.
So more signals, not defects.
Exactly. The book encourages us to realize our psyche doesn't have to be not okay. It offers a path to liberation from constant internal turmoil by recognizing these feelings as temporary communications, not definitions of self. It's like seeing that warning light on your car's dashboard. You don't condemn the car, you investigate the signal.
And then, if we delve into the contemplative tradition, the cloud of unknowing describes what it calls the night of sense in contemplative prayer.
The night of sense, what's that?
It's a stage where spiritual persons often feel lost and abandoned. They mistake this struggle for a lack of blessing or even divine disapproval. They might grow weary, feeling their usual methods of meditation are failing them, and try to force themselves.
Right, push harder.
But this effort often works against the state of quietness and ease they seek, leaving them feeling like they've completely lost their way and have been abandoned by God. It's actually described as a phase of purification where old comforts and ways of relating fall away.
Wow, that sounds incredibly difficult.
That does.
And St. Teresa of Avila, in her Interior Castle, she also discusses the trials of the soul, providing a deeply personal account. She speaks of fear, of scrupulous confessors who might attribute mystical experiences to melancholy or even the devil,
Oh, dear.
and the distress of seeing God offended or souls lost. Yet, even in these profound trials, she speaks of finding a deep peace and contentment, viewing these difficulties as a means of further uniting with God.
So the trials become the path.
Paradoxically, yes. She notes that the very discontent with the world arouses a desire to leave it, making these trials a source of peace and spiritual advancement. These spiritual challenges, then, aren't signs of failure, but often intense stages of purification and deepening connection to the divine. Okay, so having explored the nature of the self and some practical wisdom for living, how do we actively pursue deeper understanding and truth in a world that's just full of noise and complexity? Our sources seem to consistently point to paths that go beyond conventional, purely intellectual learning.
Yeah, and this brings up such a crucial point, doesn't it? If wisdom cannot be directly taught and ultimate reality is unknowable by the thinking mind, as we've discussed, what's the true nature of learning then?
Right. What's left?
It immediately suggests an experiential path rather than a purely intellectual one to profound understanding.
That's a critical distinction. Anthony de Mello, back in Awareness, he reminds us that scripture, or really any sacred text, is just a hint, a clue, not a description of reality, God, or truth.
The finger pointing to the moon again.
Exactly. He stresses that this ultimate reality is unknowable by the thinking mind. We live, he suggests, under the illusion that we know, that we can grasp these truths with our intellect, but we cannot truly know with our thoughts. the map is not the territory, and the menu is certainly not the meal.
And the fifth agreement states that languages are symbols that are only true because you think they are, driving home this idea that our conceptual frameworks are inherently limited.
So words themselves are limited.
Profoundly. To find truth, it advises you have to let go of everything that is not truth, everything that is nothing but a superstition or lie. It defines truth as matter, life, light, and love, suggesting that a raw, unfiltered perception, free from our ingrained beliefs and cultural conditioning, is required to see what is real beyond our concepts. It's about stripping away layers and layers of received knowledge.
Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha powerfully illustrates this experiential path, doesn't it? Siddhartha recounts this profound realization. Wisdom cannot be passed on. Wisdom, which a wise man tries to pass on to someone, always sounds like foolishness.
That's quite a statement.
It is. His own path involved losing his spirit, unlearning thinking, forgetting oneness, just to become childlike again. Ultimately finding Atman, his true self, even in what he describes as sin, in the full, unvarnished experience of human life with all its perceived imperfections, he realized that neither self-castigation nor learned wisdom alone could lead to enlightenment. It was about obeying an inner voice and experiencing life fully, allowing him to cycle through and transcend all experiences. He said he had to spend years losing my spirit, to unlearn thinking again, to forget the oneness, just to become a child again and start over, ultimately finding the divine woven into every aspect of existence, even the messy ones.
It's clear that humans have always sought to glimpse beyond the veil of ordinary perception, haven't they? Pushing the boundaries of what is conventionally considered knowing.
Absolutely.
Whether through profound spiritual practice or other means, these accounts speak to a common longing for a transcendental experience that surpasses mere intellectual comprehension. It's about direct apprehension, not just understanding concepts.
Indeed. And William James, in The Varieties of Religious Experience, offers a fascinating perspective on this. He discusses the psychopathic origin, as he puts it, of some religious phenomena.
Psychopathic origin. That sounds controversial.
It does, but he argues that temperaments often considered abnormal can actually offer unique receptivity to regions of religious truth. He describes this ineffable joy, an exultation where all separate notes melt into one harmony, feeling the eternal round about me and being born anew of his spirit.
Wow.
This suggests that even what society might label as infirmity or an unusual mental state can, for some, be a pathway to profound spiritual insight and a direct, unmediated experience of the divine. It really challenges our conventional notions of what constitutes normal or healthy perception.
And contemporary research, as highlighted in Michael Pollan's How to Change Your Mind, provides a kind of modern parallel, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It mentions the carefully guided use of psychedelics in group settings with guides to foster integration of the journey.
Right, the importance of context.
Exactly. This underscores the importance of the setting and preparation, the intention, not just the substance itself, for such experiences to be truly transformative and insightful, rather than merely disorienting or, recreational. It echoes that need for a prepared mind and a supportive context for any profound inner exploration, whether it's chemically induced or through deep meditation.
And St. Teresa of Avila, centuries earlier, describes a strikingly similar state of absorption in God, where the soul is fully awake to the things of God or had such light or such knowledge of His majesty, even if ordinary faculties seem absorbed or, quote, dead.
Fully awake, but faculties dead.
How does that work? It's described as a union which none can understand save it and he, a direct, ineffable knowing that defies verbal description and rational thought. She notes that the soul isn't deprived of its interior senses, it's actually more fully awake than ever before, despite the perceived death of ordinary faculties like memory or intellect. It's just a different path to a similar kind of transcendental knowing.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think. This idea that our personal and collective journey is one of remembering a lost connection. An ongoing revolution towards a more unified state of being.
Remembering, like putting the members back together.
Exactly. It invites you, the listener, to consider your own role in this larger movement of consciousness, not just as an individual, but as a participant in this grander cosmic dance.
Conversations with God introduces remembering as a truly profound concept. It's not simply remembering something you forgot, but the process of separating yourself from the body of God, from the all, from the collective, and becoming a member of that body once again.
Wow. Separating and rejoining.
Yes. It describes evolution not just as forward progress, but as revolving, a revolutionary movement of life energy, a constant cycle of remembering what we already are and returning to that unified state.
Revolving, like
Yeah.
turning back around.
Kind of. And it also suggests that highly evolved beings know who they are not by observing it elsewhere in the contextual field. Like our own planet serves as a contrasting field for them. They remember their own positive awareness without needing to create negativity to see it. They don't need the shadow to know the light. They are the light.
And The Phenomenon of Man by Teilhard de Chardin discusses the idea of mankind not just as a collection of individuals, but as this vague, evolving entity. A faith that speaks to an obscure feeling of perpetual growth and a deep need for universal fraternity.
A collective evolution.
Yes. And he touches on the modern tendency to depersonalize admiration, making energy the new spirit or God, this impersonal universal entity from which all emerges and into which all falls back. This vision ties our individual striving to a larger evolutionary thrust towards unity and greater consciousness, seeing it as an inevitable ongoing process, a continuous remembering and unfolding.
Beyond these, grand spiritual concepts and transformative experiences, our sources also offer incredibly practical advice for navigating the everyday, demonstrating that profound wisdom isn't just for mystics or philosophers.
Right. It's for the here and now.
It's for the everyday, for how we live and interact with our world.
And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it, how much of our inner state is reflected in and profoundly influenced by our external environment. These practices suggest that cultivating order and intention in the physical world can profoundly impact our spiritual well-being,
Yeah.
fostering a deeper, more harmonious connection between our internal and external realities. It's a truly holistic view of self-care.
Take Marie Kondo's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. She highlights that tidying, far from being just a chore, can positively affect all aspects of life, not just your living space.
The KonMari method.
Right. She advises eliminating excess visual information and greeting your house when you return home as a way to hone your sense of what you truly need and appreciate. She argues that even closing cupboard doors doesn't conceal the static of unnecessary visual information, and that a house can feel noisy if it's overflowing with things that don't spark joy.
So tidying becomes mindful practice.
Exactly. This seemingly mundane act is transformed into a spiritual practice of awareness and intentionality, creating a clear space for a clear mind.
And Tamar Adler's An Everlasting Meal. It suggests serving simple, vibrant foods and making good use of leftovers, embodying economy and grace in daily sustenance.
Economy and grace. I like that.
This approach to cooking and eating, it isn't just about efficiency or sustainability, though those are important. It's about mindful consumption, respecting resources, and finding beauty and deep satisfaction in the ordinary. It connects beautifully to that broader theme of finding the sacred in the mundane, turning daily acts into opportunities for presence and gratitude.
This shows that discipline and consistent effort, whether it's in martial arts or creative pursuits, are powerful paths to self-mastery and discovery, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It's about showing up for the process, day after day, not just focusing on some distant goal.
That's absolutely right. Miyamoto Musashi's The Complete Musashi describes the direct path of the warrior, stressing forging the mind and body through years of austere training and seeking victory today over the self of yesterday. Tomorrow, conquer your shortcomings.
Constant improvement.
Yes, it emphasizes constant study and patience, understanding that the mastery of combat, and by extension life itself, is a continuous journey of self-improvement and self-awareness. It's relentless yet mindful pursuit of excellence.
And finally, for creative discipline, Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way Workbook champions morning pages.
Morning pages.
Yes. 3 pages of stream of consciousness writing each morning and artists' dates as essential tools for creative recovery. She suggests that the real pay dirt in writing often occurs after some initial vamping, meaning that consistent, uninhibited practice is key to unlocking deeper creative insights.
Just like the warrior's training.
Exactly. It's about clearing the mental clutter, showing up consistently, and trusting the process to reveal what truly wants to emerge. #Outrepuner. Wow, what an incredible winding journey we've taken today. We started with an unexpected turn, didn't we? Initially thinking we'd be focusing on a specific singular vision, but the sources themselves, they just guided us into this vast, interconnected landscape of human inquiry.
They really did.
We explored such diverse views on the soul and consciousness, recognizing the profound limitations of the ego and maybe even the intellect in truly grasping ultimate truth. We then delved into practical wisdom for living, from the deep importance of humility and intentional action to navigating inner struggles like shame and fear with hopefully greater awareness. And we discovered various, sometimes surprising paths to profound understanding, whether through ancient spiritual wisdom, mystical experiences, or just diligent daily disciplines.
And if we connect all this to the bigger picture, what emerges is, well, it's a striking unity, isn't it?
Hmm.
All these disparate voices, from the Bhagavad Gita to Black Elk Speaks, from A Course in Miracles all the way to Musashi,
Right, such different sources.
they echo a fundamental human drive, the desire to understand who we are, why we are here, and how to live a life of meaning and profound connection. They all point, in their own ways, to a truth that goes far beyond superficial appearances, inviting us, inviting you, to look deeper, feel more deeply, and question our most ingrained assumptions about reality itself, prompting us to actively participate in our own evolution.
And so we leave you with this thought to chew on. If, as Conversations with God suggests, nothing is painful which you understand is not real, and if Siddhartha found that he had to, quote, sin to be able to live again, to truly find his Atman within, what illusions might you be holding on to that could be causing you pain? And what unconventional, perhaps even uncomfortable path might you need to embrace to truly remember yourself and your deepest truth?
That's a powerful reflection, and it immediately prompts us to consider, in a world of constant change and perceived divisions, how might truly embracing the idea that impermanence is the only truth, from Conversations with God seeing all as continually changing as an unending beautiful dance, how might that allow us to truly enjoy our experience of life rather than perpetually resisting its inherent flow?
Chew on that one, deep divers, and we'll see you next time for another journey into the profound.